Yeah.
Showtime. Welcome on board the Chicago Supernatural Tour. I'm Richard Crow, the Chicagoland Ghost Hunter. More important than that is Gaston, our driver. Let's hear it for Gaston. And before we get into the tour, let's take care of the rules of the road for tonight's run. Number one rule, as always, is to stay alert. Because if you're not alert, you miss the reason why we're going these places, and you're going to miss the ghosts. So tonight we're all going to be alert. No remedial tours, Gaston, please. Huh? All right. Besides stay alert, other rules are pretty obvious, like no smoking on board. That's been federal law for some time. And along the route tonight, we're going to have 13 locations featured. Actually, we're going to do 14 tonight. We've got a bit of a problem with Lincoln Avenue closed off, so we're not going to be able to stop at the Dillinger stop. So we're going to be able to just, oh, wait. That means we're going to see it. We just won't be able to stop there. What? Wait. And we're going to have an additional stop later on. So a surprise location. Don't worry, I've got plenty of stories, plenty of material for you. Anyway, so we're going to do 14, which is, 13 sounds better at a marketing standpoint. But along the route tonight, of that number, 5 are going to be stops off the bus. So in other words, 5 times off the bus. Get your cameras ready, photo ops. And yes, things have happened. You'll have caught things on film on a regular basis. So that'll be a possibility for you. When you leave the coach, take your time, watch your steps, stay with the program. Do not play musical chairs when you come back on board. Take your original seat or an empty. And Gaston, by the way, brought a bigger bus than we ordered. Thank you, Gaston. But if you take somebody else's seat, of course, that leads to bloodshed, which leads to sticky seats, and who wants sticky seats? So no sticky seats tonight, please. Also in the back of the coach, in case you didn't realize that there's a washroom for your comfort and convenience, all my tours are with a washroom-equipped coach. I do not do school buses. I do not do trolleys. I do not do anything without a washroom. Cost extra, but in the long run, it's like home away from home. It's worth it, right? All the comforts of home. And so speaking of home, you got a washroom back there. Make sure that you lock the door or the light doesn't work, or you might be surprised, we might be surprised. Lock the door. Speaking of home, of course, we don't have a refrigerator on board or anything to munch on board. We have opportunities to buy food or drink tonight. We're going to be stopping at the fabulous Billy Goat for the Curse on the Chicago Cubs, the Ghost of Mike Royko, and a chance for their famous cheeseburgers. That'll be coming up later on tonight. And also, we will be stopping in Chinatown, where you can purchase fortune cookies, almond cookies, and more. By the way, what do you think about your fortune there? They're all the same, yes. Because we just had the big John Dillinger session here last Wednesday for the 75th anniversary of the death of John Dillinger. You may have seen me on Channel 7 News. Anybody catch that? No. Okay, we had 300 people show up. And I led the group across the street from the Lincoln Station restaurant to the front of the theater, from the theater to the alley, with 2 bagpipers. I was carrying the tops of some machine gun. You should have been there. Aww. Well, if you read my website, you know about these things. And now you got to wait till next year for the next one. But anyway, we've got other fortune cookies available for you tonight if you'd like something like that. And I want to pass to the back of the coach some souvenir flyers. Please take one flyer each and pass these to the back. There you go. Whenever I pass something back and I reach across the aisle and get yours the first time, because if you come back here later and say, I didn't get something, I'll come right back to you and say, that's because you were not alert. All right. No excuses. So take one flyer each, pass that to the back, and the extras please bring back up later. And at the end of the trip, let's see, we've got smoking, eating, drinking, bodily functions out of the way. At the end of the trip, if you are very good and pay attention, the end of the class here, we're going to have a pop quiz, Supernatural Jeopardy. You can win some interesting prizes. To win, take good notes, but you may have forgotten your pens and pencils, right, boys and girls? Right. I thought of that, too. The bag of souvenir ballpoint pens goes to the back. Reach in the bag, take 1 pen each, and pass those to the back. And now, without further ado, let's go on to the ghost hunt. this evening, when I've got a breather, I'll give you my background, how I became a full-time professional ghost hunter. Because yes, this is my day job, it's my night job, it's all that I do. But meanwhile, we are so very close to our first material, I'm going to have to get into the storytelling. And here we are in Chicago, a town synonymous with gangsters. How appropriate, gangster ghosts to kick things off. We're going to start with the bloodiest event of all, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It was St. Valentine's Day, February the 14th of 1929. And Prohibition was a law of the land all across America. Back then, if you wanted a beer around Chicago, you would go to Al Capone. Unless you happen to live in this area, the North Side, run by George Bugs Moran. Moran and his boys would operate their distribution of liquor to various speakeasies back in those days, and Al Capone wanted to consolidate power totally. So Al Capone brought henchmen up from the East St. Louis area, dressed them up as Chicago police in uniform and as plainclothes detectives. By bringing in killers from out of the area, of course, that meant that they would not be identified when they were sent to slaughter the rival gang. And the trick was this. Capone had the Moran boys think that they were going to meet a shipment of liquor. So they were waiting for a shipment to come in, truckload to come in, at a garage at 2122 North Clark Street, the SMC Cartage Company. And on that morning at 10:30, as 7 of the Moran gang were waiting, by the way, Bugs was running late, he was not there that day, he was not killed, but 7 of the gang were waiting when all of a sudden, who comes in the front door but the cops? Well, they appeared to be real Chicago police, but of course they were Capone's men in disguise. And Capone's men tricked them into lining up against the back wall of the building and then gunned them down. From left to right, machine gun fire sprayed. The coup de grace was a shotgun blast to the head. 7 men dead at once, which would not happen anywhere else in America during the Prohibition beer wars. It would not happen in New York City, Kansas City, Detroit, only in Chicago would the death toll be so high, and forever Chicago would become gangster capital of the United States. And furthermore, the spot where it all came down became a tacky tourist attraction for the weird, the morbid, the curious. Not us, of course, because we are strictly out for the highest of cultural and historical reasons, right? Yeah, you got that right. But you know how some people could be, and they would come here to the garage and seek permission to go to the back room. They wanted to stick their pudgy little fingers in the bullet holes. They wanted to groove, wanted to happen, but they're always told to take themselves somewhere else, to do something else for themselves. That's how the situation would remain until the year 1967. And that year we had a mayor in Chicago known as Richard J. Daley. Remember him? The real Mayor Daley? It was that Mayor Daley who embarked upon a plan of tearing down buildings that had a gangster tie-in. He thought all you had to do was tear down a building like this and maybe Chicagoans would forget about the gangster days. It didn't work, did it? We're talking about this more than ever. Because once the building was torn down with others, the retirement home was built run by the CHA, the Chicago Housing Authority. But the exact spot where the men died is now the grassy park just to the south of that building. There we find a pleasant little yard with 5 trees, 5 maples spaced like the 5 spots in a playing card, one at each corner, one in the center. Behind that center tree, that's right where the men were lined up and shot down, and that's where people soon would begin to claim ghostly experiences, and said that at night they could hear the sounds of sobbing and moaning, which they would attribute to the dead men of 1929, but skeptics said it's all in your head, it's your imagination, except for one thing, it's more than that. Not only do people have experiences here, but animals react too. Those who walk their dogs observe them stare, growl, pull the leash, and act in a very irrational way. You might be able to say that people had read too much and thought too much about what had happened. You can't say the same thing with the dogs. With both human and animal testimony to go by, we're building a pretty good case that 2122 North Clark Street, no matter what it may look like today, is haunted. The secret is this. Tear down, rebuild, change, so what? Ghosts don't recognize change. They didn't vote for Obama, okay? It's always going to be February the 14th, St. Valentine's Day, 1929, 10:30 a.m., the moment of their doom for these men who've just slipped into eternity. We'll check out that spot just up ahead. But on the way, there's more. And I want to tell you about Lincoln Park. We're going to be traveling along with Lincoln Park on the right-hand side to the east of us. Lincoln Park used to be City Cemetery until the latter 1860s when that big cemetery was taken apart. Bodies were buried in places like Rose Hill, Graceland, and Calvary, and they didn't get everybody. You see, one family in particular had money and clout to fight City Hall. Ira Couch was an early Republican, a friend of Abraham Lincoln. He owned the Tremont House Hotel. He died a very wealthy man in 1858. And he dies and is buried in a beautiful crypt, and that crypt is still here in the grounds of the Chicago History Museum because his family fought for that privilege. So we'll see the Chicago Historical Society, their location right now, how appropriate, how ironic. They're situated on top of an old cemetery, and adjacent to that will be the Gray Stone Crypt, where Ira and other family members are interned. I did a tour for one of Ira's descendants a while back, and I said, you got a key? I'd like to get inside and take a look around, take some photos. Oops, sorry, they said. The keys are all lost. I found out that nobody's been inside that crypt in over 100 years. So whatever you do, folks, don't tell Geraldo.
Yeah.
Be one of those reality TV nonsense programs here, breaking into the crypt here in the heart of Chicago. Okay, that's the